Tight shorts. Tight shorts. Tight shorts. Tight shorts. Tight shorts. Tight shorts.
The show is about to start. Thank you for your cooperation. Enjoy the show, and please come back and visit us again.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 120 of the 9 Years podcast with myself, Nick Draper and Stuart Deakins. iTunes, YouTube, 9wirespodcast.org. You know the drill by now. There's been 120 episodes. If you don't know by now, I don't know what you're doing, to be honest with you. We have got so much to talk about this week. We're pretty much going to go straight into it. We have many ideas for this week's show. However, a certain result on Tuesday night, which came on the heels of a defeat to Rotherham on Saturday, means that we thought we'd just spend an hour talking about the team. We'll have all the usual, of course. We'll have the George Long Road to Wembley, we think for the last time actually this week, and we'll also look ahead to the Northampton game coming up on Saturday at Kings Meadow. But we're just going to get straight into the latest about what's going on the pitch at the moment, because Tuesday night was, well, it's not gone down well as you would expect. Of course it wouldn't. We've lost to the team bottom of the table once again, and it's all once again stirred up lots of feelings from many members of our fan base about what's been going on this season, as we seem to be unable just to really motor away from the relegation battle at the wrong end of League One. Just before we started recording, Stu mentioned to me he was watching back some of the highlights from the 2-1 defeat to Bury on Tuesday night. I thought it was a very interesting point. The first goal, the penalty, Stu, you mentioned to me that the first player who went in to challenge... Who was it that put it in the end? Was it Miller? Miller put the header in, didn't he?
Yeah, it was.
After George Long had saved the penalty. So it was Bunn who had the penalty. Long saved it. Ball bounces up and Miller puts the header away. First player on the scene to try and win that second ball was who?
It was Jonathan Meades.
Now, explain to the listeners why you felt this was a problem.
Well, obviously, when you look at the camera angle, and obviously people that were there may be able to correct me, but when you look at the camera angle, all you can see is Deji is the person you can see on the left-hand side of the semicircle, so he's the one, obviously, that's probably going to get straight on him. You can't see Jonathan Meades, he's out of picture, so he might have been on the angle. But I was just being nosy, because obviously I noticed that they had one and potentially two going in very quickly, and I think it shows you that desire to basically believe your keeper's going to save it, and also get in there. Yeah, once Long saves it, you then really, he's hoping for people to back him up. You know, let's be honest, the penalty taker didn't get to it first, so you can always accept that angle. But no, the first person to get there was Jonathan Meades, and he looked as equally disgusted that he wasn't there to save the header than he was when he gave the penalty away, which was, it was a penalty that was easily avoidable.
I wanted to start with this one because it's that word desire. I was saying this on Twitter last night, Tuesday night, of course, that one thing you cannot level us, and we've said this on the podcast all season long, you can never accuse us with, what do we say, maybe Oxford away, maybe the last 25 minutes of Wigan at home. Aside from that, you can't accuse us of a lack of desire, can you? Teams don't tend to beat us on work rate, they don't beat us on effort, on hunger, all these things. Last night, Tuesday night, was the first time, really, where we've been guilty of that, where a team just seemed to have wanted it more, and that incident when you raised it about the penalty does hint that was exactly the case, and that's why we've lost what was an important game.
Yeah, it feels like this game's been waiting. It feels like this game's been sort of waiting around for a little while, and I think obviously we had the FA Cup, so we had the trip to Spurs for the third round. We've had quite a few away games and stuff, but you sort of, to me, it felt like Bury had been waiting to literally mark this game in as, Joe, what, this is a must-win game, and the night before last, that was even worse. But obviously Tuesday night, we've gone there, and it felt like actually we didn't really get the importance, or we didn't feel it was as important as Bury did. and they absolutely caned us for 20 minutes, and we couldn't survive it. And you just sometimes, on a pitch that we know is bobbly and horrible, that can't be an excuse. But it feels like that game was targeted. They must get 3 points, and we've come short again against a team that's bottom of the league. And we haven't lost it because of ability, I don't believe, or skill. We've lost it just because in important moments we haven't shown that desire to be first and clear danger.
Is there an element of not having Barry Fuller or Lyle Taylor in that starting lineup? Do you think that had they been, that would have been such an issue? Do you think their presence, and we've had people criticise Barry all season, Barry's been criticised all season, Lyle still gets criticised by many, especially apparently after Rotherham, he wasn't popular amongst many of our fans for his performance there. I don't know more than that, to be honest. Do you think those players, though, what's the word I'm looking for? They exemplify our desire, our hunger, our work rate. Lyle doesn't stop running. He's putting in challenges. He's closing down all the time. Barry Fuller's our captain on the pitch. Do you know what I mean?
There are long-serving pros. You know, Barry must be the longest-serving player now. Thinking probably
George Frankham, Barry Fuller. It's got to be one of those
Andy
two.
Bartram isn't far away. I know Andy Bartram's coming up to 100 appearances soon. But yeah, Lyle, he's been here for a couple of seasons now. But they're figureheads, aren't they? You're right. Lyle leads by example on the pitch, and so does Barry Fuller. We felt, obviously, Barry didn't start too well beginning of the season. We felt there were some goals that could have been credited to him and Robbo, if you remember properly, when he was playing early on in the season. However, I would quite happily concede that Barry has been playing better in a recent run. Lyle, runs all day. I felt it's really weird. With Joe Pigott, he's obviously coming from Maidstone. He hasn't really come in from a relegation battle from Maidstone. They're very much mid-table. But he went into a relegation battle on Tuesday night, and I felt and this is not to single out Pigott at all, I just wonder whether that was the right game to put him in, because I think Lyle, when he come on, showed that he realised he had to work hard, fight for the ball before he then got the right, really, to have the ball and start playing. Whereas I felt Pigott didn't really judge the game well. And that might just be because actually going into a relegation 6-pointer isn't as easy as people think. So you sort of wonder, would it have been better to start Joe at Rotherham and maybe let them rest Ryle for Bury? All ifs and buts, but I didn't think Pigott got into the game at all on Tuesday night.
Is that hindsight, though? That's we're going to talk about Neil Lardner, we have, because again, lots of people are asking questions again. More so, I think, not just because it's one bad result. I think it's because it's a bad result that has been repeated over many seasons. Bottom of the league team turning us over. But whilst I actually agree with you, on reflection, yes, Rotherham was a much better opportunity for Pigott to have got his first 90 minutes, I would say as well. I mean, there would have been no training between the Rotherham and the Bury game, would there? So it wasn't like he needed a few extra training sessions to get match fit or anything. He could have played that Rotherham game. But do you think that's a little bit of hindsight as opposed to would I have necessarily called that one going into the weekend? I don't think I would.
Well, you have to also look at it. Neil Ardley does make sure that he preps his team. You know, he said he's prepped out the whole of the month in terms of training, rest days, and so forth. So I wouldn't put it past Neil to have actually in his head have ideas of actually what team he was going to be putting out. So I don't know if it is a far stretch, if I'm being honest with you. I think, and hindsight, yeah, of course, we can talk with hindsight. We can talk with hindsight. Was it wise to go 3-5-2? Was it wise to play Robbo twice in 4 days when he hasn't played a first team fixture for a good month or so? There's all hindsights there, but that's what Neil's paid to do. That's his job. And yes, we have picked up points against Bradford, and we've probably picked up what we call bonus points, although I expected us to win at Bradford. I had a nice little £15 win on it because I was happy to put money on us because I thought it was a dead cert. But we had...
Do you know what? I have to just say, you only ever hear of people's bets when they've won.
Oh, of course you do, yeah. But I haven't bet on Wimbledon all season, apart from Bradford.
Of course not. Of course not.
It's because I'm skinned, because my missus has been spending more money on,
that's more like
on our arrival, do you know what I mean? But, yeah, we've picked up probably some cheap points we didn't expect to win. And yes, losing 2 on the bounce, of course, the Wimbledon faithful are going to be not happy. But I think it's the fact that we've lost it. We've known about this game. It's been in the background for ages. You know, Bury on a Tuesday night, can't go there and lose. I can live with the fact if we lose and we've fought and we've battled and we've just come out unlucky on a day. But there was nothing unlucky about Tuesday night. Bury fully deserved that win. We huffed and we puffed and we kept knocking hopeful balls into the box for the last 20, 30 minutes. But really, there was no quality. There was no belief of anything. And yes, hindsight, as you say, is a great thing. But I think selection wasn't great. And we have to. One thing I would say is I'm a little disappointed again with Neil Ardley not prepared, not taking any ownership and passing the buck to his players, which he's done too many times and is becoming a little bit of a broken record.
There's so many things. I'm going to have to start making a note of things that I'm going to have to come back to because you brought up Neil Ardley there. His interview following the defeat of Bury, then you weren't happy with. And I've got a lot to say about the whole Neil Ardley situation as well, but I'm going to let you go first. So your point being that it seems that when we have defeats like we've had, I think he did the same following the Oxford game, which I referenced earlier, the blame seems to go onto the players for not turning up, and you feel that's unfair?
Yeah, because all of a sudden you can't, the Rotherham game, I thought, from what I saw the Rotherham game and from what I've been speaking to a few people that were there, actually the commitment wasn't that bad at all. We fought against a really strong Rotherham team.
That's what I say, though. That commitment isn't normally a problem for us. It's so rare that, is it being a bit harsh when it does happen?
I think it is, and I think you have to
have a go at them.
Yeah, and I think you have to look elsewhere. I think you sometimes have to look at your own. When we all make mistakes. In our jobs, we all make mistakes, and I think what we all probably do is, I hope what we do, we look in our backyard first and go, did we make the right call? But it felt to me the interview was very much Neil Ardley with that sombre looking face that someone's just told him he's got the wrong lottery tickets numbers. But it felt I've seen that facial expression. I've seen that type of interview a couple of times this season already. And there was one phrase that I'm going to paraphrase here, but basically said, it wasn't a Wimbledon performance. And I think Chris Slavin, our communication executive, asked the question, we've got a message for the Wimbledon fans that travelled, which is a similar sort of theme. But he sort of said, that was a Wimbledon team out there in the second half, but the first half performance wasn't a Wimbledon performance. But he then said, they didn't follow his instructions, they didn't get in at the break. We got to 1-1 when we didn't deserve to be 1-1 apparently, and we didn't get to half time. But he didn't say that at half time he challenged them to get themselves out of the mess. But he used them as a team rather than, if I'm being truthful, he should take ownership and say us as a group, whereas he very much made a reference as the players. And I think Wimbledon fans don't want to see that. I want to see what mistakes did you make? Was it a formation change? Did you not fire them up enough? Have a little bit of ownership. I don't want to keep passing the blame to the players because they've not been at fault for the run we've had going into it. So I don't see how overnight, all of a sudden, the switch has gone.
So you're saying, because this is my thing about Tuesday night was the discussion about the team selection isn't one that was really brought up or that he didn't mention. And I agree with you that is part of what I'm doing there. Do we have any other options? What did we do in the end with Paul Robinson? What happened in the end? We switched formation, didn't we? So we started off with 3-5-2, and Robbo was really struggling. And we ended up going to a flat back 4, didn't we?
Yeah, I believe Frank come on, didn't he? Went that way.
Right.
Lyle come on for Cody, and then we brought Forrester on, and very much went into a 4-4-2. But it feels like sometimes because the 3-5-2 worked. Well, let's play that and let's not worry about the personnel. I've said for ages that Paul Robinson doesn't work. Robbo, let's be honest with you, Robbo is probably in one season too many. And that, at the beginning of the season, none of us called that. If I say now, I said to you, no, Robbo did have the legs for another season, then I'd be lying. So, we've just made the wrong call. But Robbo, unfortunately, is just season too many. But he's not a player that I'd play in a... He's not a player I'd play at the moment in a 2. He's not a player I'd play in a 3. So you have to wonder, was that the right decision? Did we have any options, or did we go to a 4-4-2? But we've left our attacking players on the bench. Forrester is a super sub now. Lyle, I was really worried when I saw Lyle not playing, and I can honestly say that because Lyle in a relegation 6-pointer, I would want him on my team. Nothing against Joe Piggott, but I just think Lyle's proven that he battles and he works hard for the team. So I think there are. I think there were selection errors. I think there was a formation error. But again, Neil Ardley comes across a formation sometimes, and sticks with it like glue until it's broken. So, what are we going to see on Saturday against Northampton?
It all depends, I guess, on what person are available, because Barry Fuller's he's got this knock that came out of nowhere, hasn't he? That surfaced before the Rotherham game, so he wasn't involved. I'm assuming you're probably right. You're probably right in a way. If Barry Fuller has not picked up this knock, the back three that starts at Gig Lane is Fuller or Shalaja Charles, as we come to expect it. Would that not have still had the same problems as Paul Robinson has suffered? Is it pace?
Possibly.
Pace been a huge issue?
Well, everyone who saw Ishmael when he was, I think he was on loan from Wolves when he was at Burton. Anyone who saw Ishmael for Burton would know that he is super quick, very direct. We'll basically tell you, we'll make your fullbacks make decisions. Whether you're going to back off, tackle, go high up on the pitch, or stuff like that. You had Mayer the other side as well, so they went around the outside of us. They looked at us and saw that we were very strong through the middle. We got Abdu, Saws, and Trotter, and then you got your three centre half. So they very much went around the outside. But the problem was that our wing backs were pushed back, and Robbo got brought into areas that he didn't really want to be, and made wrong decisions, and which resulted in his booking when he was isolated out on the wide and he took a player out. He just went to skip past him. So yes, you could argue that formation wouldn't have helped us anyway, but I'd rather have not. If I'm being honest with you, I'd rather not have Robbo in that team. And probably gone with the safety of maybe a Meads or George Frankham. Anything, if you're going to stick to 3-5-2, I just don't think Robbo was the right choice. And
the Meads Frankham question, was it last week we spoke about this? Why George Frankham had replaced Jonathan Meads, and then Meads comes back in for this Bury game. I'm really struggling with that logic. If Frankham was on the bench and came on at half time, it wasn't to. I would have said it was to rest him. Frankham's had a good break during the season, so. Can you explain? This is what I mean about when you go back to Neil Arnold's post-match interview. It's all very well and good, like you say, blaming the attitude and the commitment and everything. There's still a point I want to make on that. But also these questions, why bring in Jonathan Meads at that point? It didn't seem to make any sense.
Jonathan Meads seems to be... See, Jonathan Meads and George Frankham are the trusted players by Neil, and he can play them in multiple positions. You know what I mean? They can play either side, they can play in the centre midfield, so I suppose he gives them that flexibility. Jonathan Meads this year has been a real disappointment. I find it very difficult being critical of Jonathan Meads because he's a top chap.
Do you know what he is? Yeah, he is an absolute such a nice top guy.
And even
all
though
the time in the world for him.
And even though you shouldn't allow that side of it, all the players in their own right are good lads, But Jonathan Meads is, and I found it very difficult to be critical of him this year. But he hasn't had a great year this year, and he's made.
Is that not? Injury, that is a culmination of so many
possibly
injuries. Is this what we're seeing?
But he was very last night, Tuesday night, he had 3 nibbles at Mayer before he took him out, and Mayer's going nowhere. Mayer's going back to the halfway line. I know obviously Mayer's trying to get out and then probably wrap it around his right foot, but I just felt that it's like that over eagerness of trying to make it's like trying to make an impact as much as you can when you can. When Jonathan Meads last year was our best. Would argue last year was one of our best defenders. I think he only got roasted once was against the lad that went to Cardiff. Can't think of his name now. Mendes Lang, if I remember properly.
Yeah, the Rochdale.
He was outstanding. But he roasted most fullbacks last year. He's the only person I saw that.
I didn't know him that well.
He's the only fullback. He's the only player I've seen give Jonathan Meads a real problem last year. But this year, it's just like maybe it is the injuries. And I get that. But he's trying to come in, and it's like he's trying a bit too hard. He hasn't got and also, I'm trying to be fair to Jonathan Meads as well. He hasn't really got a settled position. Last year he was left back. This year he's probably played in what, 3 different positions already. And
if Jonathan Meads' bit of a dip in form is a culmination of a few injuries, was the defeat to Bury just a culmination of having, 3, being the third of 3? Consecutive long away trips in such a short space of time? It couldn't have been easy travelling all the way out to Rotherham and back on the Saturday and doing it up to Manchester and back a few days later.
No, it can't be. And I imagine they were. I might be correct in this, but I imagine they were probably coach journeys. I'm trying to think. Bradford is a direct link, but I think that's coach. What we got after that, Rotherham. Yeah, they're probably all coach journeys. It makes you wonder sometimes whether it may have been. I don't know. I know we're not running with loads of money, but could we have stayed over? But then what would that be? That would be Sunday, Monday. It's difficult, you got players with families, and will they get restless and stuff like that? I think it's a difficult one. But yeah, the coach journeys will take it out of you. It's been a rubbish. Whoever put the fixture list together, I know that Bury was a rearranged game, wasn't it? But it hasn't done us too well. You have to hope in a way that the run of a few home games coming up will balance that out, because we haven't been dealt a really a nice hand. And it's like anything, if Bradford had been the last game of the three and we come out to win, we'd all be talking a bit differently, wouldn't we? Do you know what I mean? Football's a weird thing with the fixtures, but all I do know is we have 16 league games to go until the season finishes, isn't it?
Well, we could have 19 still, possibly.
I'll say it was 16.
There's so many things to talk about. What do I want to touch on next? Looking back then to the goals from both games, as I've said, and we've said it all season, again, we're repeating many things. I guess that's the nature of doing a weekly podcast. But defensively, yes, we are very, very good. And I said that our upturn in form just before Christmas and throughout January was we were cutting out these silly defensive errors that were causing us problems earlier in the season. Well, that's come back to haunt me, really, because we've had a shocker on a number of goals over the past week. I have to say it though, Stu, I can't let it go. If Liam Trotter was a security guard at, like, a jeweller's or something, I would be trying to steal something from that jeweller's. Because I have a feeling he would stand there, he would watch me eyeing up the jewellery, then he'd sort of jog slightly towards me, then he'd see me pick it up and put it in my coat, and then I'd walk out the door, and he'd slightly jog after me a couple of paces, and then he'd go, do you know what, I'll just let him go, it's fine. Because that's what I saw. That's what I saw at Rotherham. That's what I saw at Bury for goals. Yeah,
but Joe, it's one of those things of what you see, isn't it? Now, don't get me wrong. You either love Liam Trotter, you don't.
No, no one loves. Nobody loves him. They might think he's all right.
I'm in that middle ground at the moment, because actually, do you know what? I've always been one of those people that will stick up for the person who gets picked on, or isn't as I don't know, isn't the most popular person. I've always been a little bit of a. I suppose I was a Wimbledon fan, because I always go for the underdog, the ones not as favourite as all the others. Do you know what I mean? But I suppose it's what you see it from, because the goal against Bury on Tuesday night, I see, yes, him allowing players to get into the box, but he's not on his own on that. But what I see is Deji making an awful mistake, getting the ball trapped on his feet and conceding a horrible goal. I'm trying to think now. The Rotherham goal was when on the edge of the area, wasn't it, where we didn't get a tackle in?
Yeah.
But then, honestly, again, for what you see, I see Bartram lose his man and end up trying to do a desperate tackle. So I know what you're saying. It depends on what you see. I think the problem with Liam Trotter is that he's just his languid style of not looking like he's running too fast is always going to, whenever he's involved in anything bad, it's always going to get highlighted, because he just doesn't look like. I'll give you an example. Lyle can make an error, but Lyle, it looks like he's making an error because he's trying his hardest, and he might just muck up. Whereas Liam Trotter, you're thinking, mate, did you really even see that danger?
I'm going to come back to Liam Trotter's language style in a moment. Are you in a dentistry right now? Like, is someone cleaning some teeth or doing some drilling a filling or something? What's going on?
No,
it's like this high pitched. Can only be described as a dentist drill. That's all I can hear.
No, I don't know. Must be my microphone.
Okay.
Is it still there?
It's still there. I'm trying to figure out what it is. It's like, it could be a Hoover. I'm not sure. Maybe it's somebody. Maybe it's a Wimbledon fan having a root canal, which is less painful than watching us at Bury on Tuesday. Now, yes, Liam Trotter's language style. You're right. It is unfair, and of course, I am jesting really to highlight and pick on him in particular. But it's just backing up my point, really. Again, of yes, lacking of effort, desire, whatever, and what have you, isn't something we normally level at our players. Unfortunately, Liam Trotter does seem to be the embodiment of that kind of style, in a similar vein to, and this is not a fair comparison on any level, but Dwayne Plummer. Because I like talking about professions. So we've had dentists, now we've got plumbers. But Dwayne Plummer always used to have this problem. He always used to get that accusation levelled at him that it looked like he wasn't trying. He was just jogging around the pitch and occasionally do something magic. But for some games, you wouldn't even notice he was there. And unfortunately, Trotter does seem to have that about him. Even Tom Sawers, Tom Sawers is the other one that gets this actually. I just, Tom Sawers doesn't really get any grief from us, and Liam Trotter wouldn't otherwise really, if I just me being a dick basically. But Tom Sawers, even on Tuesday night, you can see him really hassling, putting shift in, making the yards up, doing his job. He always does his job. I can't say the same of the other one.
Well, we don't really know what Liam Trotter's job is. That's the thing, isn't it? There's three in the middle there. Tom Sawers, of course, got a round of applause from all four stands, with a few fans in each of the stands on Tuesday night, which obviously says what they thought of Tom Sawers. And yeah, I've got a lot of time for Tom Sawers. Of course, you know what? The interesting thing that's going to come up now is that Dean Parrott scored 2 goals on his return for the under-21s on Tuesday afternoon away in Swindon. So he's now going to be starting banging on the door. He could be on the bench. And what do we do with that midfield? Because we sort of like stumbled across the 3 midfielders, defensive midfielders, haven't we? We sort of stumbled across that because that's all we had, because we don't want to play Anthony Hartigan for whatever reason. But, what happens if Dean Parrott is fit? Because I think one thing we've also failed to pick up on, and we've got a lot of stuff to say pick up on. When you get beat, it's easy to pick on things. But one of the things that we've not highlighted is the fact that our free kick and our dead ball takers on Tuesday night were both our forwards. Cody in the first half and Lyle in the second. What's going on there?
Is that, you mentioned the attention to detail and his planning and preparing for games and stuff. Surely that is again, that just begs the question, if Lyle's not going to start, and he has been the one taking all our set pieces and things like that, if Harry Forrest is not going to start, and he would obviously be who you'd expect to do it if Lyle's not there, if Callum Kennedy is probably never going to play for us ever again, the person next on the list is George Frankham, but even he got dropped for Jonathan Meades. It just seems a disaster, this game, more and more I think about it. So many odd decisions that came out of nowhere.
It is, and that's why I think sometimes when you're not taking ownership, when you're, do you know what, if the players didn't work as hard or didn't show desire, which we're quite openly saying we didn't believe they looked like they did, do you know what I mean? But equally, you've got to go and say, did I make the right decisions as a management team? I think that's where do you know what, if I hadn't listened to Neil Hardy's interview, I would just accept it as a bad night at the office, didn't work hard enough, let's get back together on Saturday. But we score some own goals sometimes with stuff we release on our internet, and it's just like, it was a car crash, because it was just like, you basically blame the players for not working hard enough, but we can all see there were some other issues with selection, free kick takers, formation. There was a lot of things to address, not just the players' ability to work hard on a night.
Dean Parrott coming back into the team that you referenced there, and the possibility of that happening and perhaps knocking back again, Anthony Hartigan. I'm not saying that Tuesday night would have been the game for him for a variety of reasons, but wouldn't have been a bad one. Edgley Carja again. I know I sound like I'm a bit of a fanboy of Edgley Carja, don't I? Maybe it's because I want Edgley Carja and Will Nightingale back in the team because of hair. They've got the best hair. But aside from that, age. What's going on? The youngest player. Who was the youngest player? The youngest outfield player would have been what? Deji, 24. George Long's 24. Is that the youngest? Do you have to be a certain age now to play for us? Have we got an age limit on the team?
Well, we've got some decisions. In the summer, there's some interesting decisions to make. Let's hope decisions are to make of what a League One team looks like next season. Let's hope that's the first problem we have. But we have to look at the fact of we've had a bench full of kids. We haven't really used those. So Anthony Hartigan is the $1 million question. Have we gone, Joe, what, we're going to lose, if we keep playing him, we're going to lose him to the vultures that are coming around for scouts and stuff like that? It could be. I don't know whether does that stop you playing somebody? Because it just penalises you as a team, doesn't it?
It does, and it worries me because I think Alfie Egan's progress has been stalled for exactly that reason. Being involved in the squad is great, but if you're on the bench, not getting game time, it's actually going to do you more harm than good.
Alfie needed games, and I think with Alfie, I think from what I hear, that Alfie comes as an attacking midfielder, and they saw him more as a holding midfielder.
Oh wow!
And by the way, that's just from what I hear around from people that I talk to.
But who is they?
Well, I obviously can't disclose.
No, what I mean is, but who thought he was more of a defensive holding midfielder than an attacking midfielder?
Yeah, and you have to wonder because obviously Mark Robinson hands them over once they got their pro contract, but we all know that Alfie Egan was an attacking midfielder. I find it amazing that we haven't been able to. Don't get me wrong, some players when they come into first team or get their pro contract, sometimes they just don't hit the heights. But you sort of sit there and go with Alfie. What chance has he had? He maybe needed a loan deal earlier. I don't know if you saw there was an interview with Harry Redknapp. He was introduced in with Frank Lampard and Rio Ferdinand for a game. I'm trying to think what game it was now.
I'm going to be honest, if it was Harry Redknapp and Frank Lampard on my TV at the same time, there is no chance in hell I would ever put myself through that.
Trust me though, if you get a chance to see the clip, and I'll see if I can find it for you. Basically, they were talking. It was a really thing about kids, and I don't even make sure I get this properly. But basically, what Harry Redknapp was saying was, you have to get your boys out and get games. So what he was saying was that he chucked Rio out early to get some games. Frank Lampard went out on loan to get some games. He had Michael Carrick. Yeah. And went out and got some games. And what Harry Redknapp said is, there's no point playing under 23 football. You don't win. It don't mean nothing. He goes, these kids have to go out, get their hands dirty, learn what it's like to play a professional football when points mean something. And do you know what? Success-wise, you can't argue with Harry Redknapp's success with kids, going through the levels and stuff like that. And it just struck a nerve, thinking to myself, we need to get, our kids need to get games. So if they're not getting at our level, why did we not? Last year, if I remember properly, we stuck out Edwin Carter went to lose last year, if I remember properly. We went Tom Beer went to Gateshead. So it's just getting as far away as possible from London. But did Alfie go on loan last year? Did he go on loan towards the back end? He went to Sutton, didn't he?
He's been to Sutton
this season, and Sutton chucked him back as quickly as we sent him. But you're just thinking, should we get these? Do we bring him in? Is it Anthony Harscombe, for argument's sake? Was it right for him to come in and go straight into our first team, or should we have said, you know what, Alfie, go and get you some game time at Maidstone, or go and get yourself some game time at Solihull Moors? I'm just chucking some conference names, or Aldershot, where we can still see him. Okay, the argument, of course, is would an Aldershot want to take a 17-year-old kid that's not tested? Probably not. But there's no good sitting on the bench, because Alfie, you're right. Alfie's the way we're going is probably not going to get a contract next year. I'd be amazed if he does, because what has he done to deserve one? Nothing.
But that's not his fault. Yeah, that's not his fault. He's just having an opportunity.
You're right, but do we make a gamble and go, well, you're being paid next to nothing salary-wise? Do we go, we'll give you another year? What's the point of it? If I was Alfie Egan's scout, or even his parents, I'd be going, do you want to stay at Wimbledon? Go out and get some games. Go down a little, go down the leagues. Go do what Joe Piggott did. Go down the leagues. Go to
what James Shea did. James Shea said it on our first podcast this season, didn't he? He said he needed to, went to Harrogate, and he said should have done it years earlier, because playing men's football was the best education he got. And look at him now; he's with the team top of the league. But we'll talk about them later.
So we got kids now going. So for argument's sake, Annie Hartman can go, do you know what? I've been involved in League One football. I've sat on the bench for, I don't know, most of the season. I've got splinters on my backside. Alfie can go, I sat, League One, part of a League One team. How many times do you get on the pitch? It's sometimes sitting on the bench. We've got a goalkeeper, Joe McDonnell, who had one appearance this year.
I've just realised, I think my brother's been on the Kingsmeadow pitch more than Anthony Hartigan has in this season.
But, to be fair, Joe McDonnell's worked so hard in the background with under 23s and training, and rightly got his chance at Milton Keynes and did really well. But if you look at his CV, he has spent a couple of seasons sitting on a bench when really should he go out and get some games? It's a difficult, isn't it? But our bench at the moment is just basically it's like you and I can sit on that bench because we've got no chance getting a team, and a lot of them have got no chance getting on a pitch because he just won't use them. And
I think the only thing I could say to give the opposing view to what I've put forward there is I always thought Damien Francis. Do you remember Damien Francis when he was always listed in our first team squad number, everything? Never got on the pitch. And then he got on the pitch, famously played at left back. I mean, away at Fulham.
Was that a famous Fulham game, wasn't it?
Yeah. There's highlights on that on YouTube. I'll dig out and put on Twitter if anyone wants to watch that horror show back. Yeah, I know. But he came back and I suppose there's a slight difference. We went down a level, didn't we? And then he came into the first team when we got into the old Division 1, what is now the Championship. But he went on to have a very, very, very good career at top level. So it's not the end of the world, as I say, but it does appear on the surface at the minute, certainly in Alfie's case, that he has been hampered massively. What's been hampering our progress this season is, which one do you want to do first? Goals from set pieces, or should we talk about results from when we've conceded first?
Yeah, so obviously there was a few things on social media on Tuesday night going around. When do we score? Can we ever actually recover from a losing position? And it's interesting when you look. Let's go from points. So there's a lot of websites nowadays that do points gained from a losing position. So when they were behind in a game, and yeah, I suppose we look at last season. So if we go back to last season we managed from a losing position to win 4 games, draw 7 games. So from a losing position, we managed to pick up what we're looking at, 19 points. This season, from how many games we were looking at? From 15 games, we have won no games when we've been behind, and 3 games we managed to get draws, and we worked them out as being Scunthorpe away, Gillingham away, and more recently Peterborough at home. But the point is sort of...
Sorry, most recently Gillingham away.
Oh, was that before Peterborough, was it?
No, most recently it was Gillingham.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it was on the 30th of December.
Oh, yeah, Peterborough was... Oh, yeah, Peterborough was before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on TV in November.
How time flies when you're having fun.
That's what...
Okay, so...
as nobody said ever about our podcast.
So, yes, the Gills is more recent, but it just shows you, doesn't it? Because that... Yeah, we talked about desire and stuff like that, but it also shows the mentality. Do you know what I mean? We haven't... That's quite a shocking return, really. I'm looking at teams down the bottom there as well. Plymouth are the worst ones. So they've had 1 less game than us. So, but Northampton, who we play on Saturday, from 17 games, they've managed to get a win and a draw from a losing position. The one that I was quite surprised at, who I thought were quite resilient last year, was Fleetwood Town. So 18 games they've been behind, and then they come back and got 4 draws, which probably shows you why Fleetwood are closer to us than they are the player positions, with quite a lot of money spent, which is another story.
I mean, I was looking at these statistics about scoring first, conceding first, and I worked it out that, okay, the Peterborough game we talked about was when we actually scored first and then went behind, didn't we? But in games where we've actually been the team that have conceded the first goal, we've conceded the first goal in 16 games so far this season. From those 16 games, we've picked up 2 points. That's woeful. That's absolutely woeful. And does that hint at the lack of creativity? Is that what that hints at? The fact that if we're not that solid defensive team, like I've said many, many times on this podcast before, that then hits teams on the break and scores the goals that way, when the onus is on us, we just don't have the ability, like I sort of said a couple of weeks back.
Yeah, just to hear the fact of how we set up games. You know, we all go back to the famous Plymouth home game where we went to a defensive mindset at home. But does it set towards that? Does the stat sort of rely on fact so that we've had a strike force that hasn't been effective earlier in the season, and not loads of different options to go from? So, you know, we were very reliant on our defence keeping clean sheets, and you can't keep doing that. I know in January we conceded no goals, do we? In January, if you don't count the Spurs game, because obviously that was a cup game. But you can't rely on the fact that you're going to keep getting clean sheets, and I think that's what we tried to early in the season. But I don't know. I think last year we had a better resilience about us last year, which obviously shows by the fact that we turned 4 games into wins from losing positions last year. We haven't had that this year. You know, we've had to really get the lead, take the lead, and go from there. The games I've not looked at the games that we've scored first. We've won, but I imagine there's quite a few of them. But you really want to turn your potential defeats into wins or draws, and because that increases your momentum as well. Because you know, sometimes if we think about the Gillingham game at home, I kept talking as if we'd lost that game because Gillingham equalised and it felt like a defeat. Whereas the flip side to that is sometimes when you're losing a game, you get an equaliser. It actually feels like a win. Your momentum goes. It's all about when you score the goals, but you don't really want to keep chasing leads. You don't want to keep chasing teams when they score first.
No, it's interesting you mentioned the Gillingham game there, because actually 11 times this season we scored first. We scored the first goal, 11 games. And by my maths, we haven't lost any of them. So there is a flip side to it, of course. As bad as that other record is, that is a very, very strong record. So 11 games we've scored first, we've won 9 of them, we've drawn 2 of them. I'm guessing then that is that Peterborough game, which, because it was 1-0, 2-1 down, then drew 2-all, it features a few different statistics the way you look at it. And then that Gillingham game, as you say. And that all comes down to, like I said before, again, defensively, yes, we are pretty solid. In fact, only 5 teams have a better defensive record than us in League One this season. That is the top 4. So what's that? Wigan, Blackburn, Shrewsbury and Scunthorpe. Do you know who the 5th team is that have a better defensive record than us?
Best defensive record than us? I think it might be one of the teams down the bottom. Maybe it's like Plymouth.
It's not Plymouth, but it was a team that were down the bottom, but are suddenly motoring up the table.
The old Gills.
Yeah, Gillingham. Yeah.
Who, let's be fair, they looked the worst team. That first half an hour, I remember thinking, wow, where are the bookies? How much money can I get on them being relegated?
Yeah.
Because they were shocking, weren't they?
Yep.
Oh, wow. But then again, do you know what? And I don't digress because we do. But they've obviously gone for a coach. I've forgotten the manager's name. I do apologise. But
Steve
the manager's... Yeah, he's been involved in them as their under-18 coach, a coach. He's been involved with Gillingham always, most of his career. I think he played for them as well. And they went to him as a option just whilst they were looking for other managers in. And it sometimes shows you that you don't always need a manager who will go out and buy your players and stuff like that. Sometimes you just got to coach what you've got. And that's what he's doing. And look what he's doing with that squad, which is the same squad that the previous manager had. And look what he's doing with it. So sometimes it's how you coach them. I think we know that going back the years through Terry Burton and Don Howe and that. We've had some of the best coaches.
I'd say I'd chuck Neil Ardley's name into that, because I think there are many players that, by the hard and fast rule for me would be looking at the players that we've brought into the club in his time, which one of those have left the club better players than when they first arrived. I think it's probably quite a long list. There are some that just didn't work. There are always going to be those. There are always going to be the Tyrone Barnetts and things. But Sean Kelly, I'd argue, came and improved massively in his time with us. Adebayo Aziz is the biggest example of that, I think, by far. So I think he's got that ability back. I think he probably is on the training field a very, very good coach.
Yeah. But did you answer your own question in a way?
I have I have done. Yes, I really have done. And I guess the other question is, the other point is our poor form. We talk about goals against, scoring first, whatever it might be, good defensive record, attacking record, no surprise here. Only 4 teams have scored fewer goals than us this season, and they are all below us in the table. And unsurprisingly, we've only had 3 0-0 draws this season. I suppose that is quite surprising when you put it together. You'd think it'd be more. But those 3 0-0s were against Rochdale, Oldham, and that other lot. And they are all in the bottom 4 right now as well. Yeah. So,
and Rochdale got through the round. Rochdale beat Millwall.
And they did
on Tuesday night, didn't they?
Speak a little bit more about Rochdale in a minute, because we're talking about goals, and I wanted to. You've done some research then into our strengths when we are scoring our goals. We might not score many, but there are some strengths and weaknesses within that statistic.
Yeah, there is. So I use quite a good website actually that I really get a lot of. They do loads of different tables.
Is that the one that that player did the little sign for the other day? You know, gestured. Was it scored a goal and did the little hand gesture? That website?
I'm not sure.
Okay, of course you're not.
I'm not sure. But basically what it does, it puts those different tables in. What it basically does also is put the distribution of goals. So basically what it does, it says how many of all your goals scored, how many were by right-footed, by left-footed, headers, penalties, free kicks. So, obviously, our most popular goal is a right foot, which is not surprised because that's most people. You know, you always struggle for your left footers, don't you? Do you know what I mean? So.
Because right-footed people are better than left-footed. Right-handed people are better than left-handed people. It's just fact. It's just fact.
So the right-footed people win for the most goals. Mm-hmm. Not actually quite big. 19 goals by right foot, 6 goals by left. However, and this is where people are going to probably know where we're going. Headers. Nick, how many goals do you think we've scored this year by the use of a header?
I actually think the answer's 0. I know it's not, but I think it is, technically.
Okay, so the answer's 1.
Okay.
So you weren't far out. And that actually is a goal that just about crossed the line, which had been Tom Saw's at home to Southend. That's the only header. So even a header that we scored has not come from a forward.
So basically, last season against Curzon Ashton, we scored more headers in 3 minutes than we have done the entirety of the season so far.
Yeah. Now, if you also want to compare to last season we scored 16 goals by the route of a header.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's quite an interesting thing. Penalties this year. So we've had a few penalties. We obviously had that one penalty early in the season that we unfortunately missed against them.
Yeah.
But 2 goals by the form of penalty.
Weren't they both in the space of a week as well?
Yeah, again, I'm losing track of who we scored them against. But
did we have Portsmouth away? Definitely. And Gillingham away?
Possibly, yeah. Actually, probably think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. It was a dodgy decision, wasn't it? Now, last season we had 6 penalties that we scored, so we're due a few more before the season finishes. However, free kicks. Now, how many goals do you think we scored by free kicks? So that would be a direct free kick into the net with no touches.
We certainly haven't had one this season, have we?
Correct.
Last season, I'm going to be honest, the only time I can remember us, in my memory at the moment, the only thing I can picture is a goal that didn't even go straight in from a free kick. It was Lyle Taylor at home to Carlisle, and it was saved and Paul Robinson bundled over the rebound.
Yeah.
That's the last one I can remember, and that doesn't even count, so I've got no idea.
Yeah, so we have not scored a free kick in 2 seasons, or 1.5 seasons, but nearly 2 seasons.
So when was the last one?
I don't know. I didn't go that far back. I got a bit depressed when I looked at last season. No goes from free kicks. But
so we did. So we didn't get one last season at all.
No.
Oh wow.
So if you look around the league, it's quite interesting. There's not. Don't get me wrong. There's not teams that are running away with scoring 7 or 8. We got. If we look, Wigan, for argument's sake, have only scored 1 goal by a free kick out of their 55. Blackburn have scored 4 goals from a free kick, and they're 54. After that, you've got Scunthorpe scored 4. But we're not alone. There's a few teams that have got shutouts from free kicks. Looking here, Bury, no free kicks. So, but I just think we've spoke this year, especially after Tuesday night, where our delivery wasn't great. Although I will say, Lyle Taylor nearly set one up for Jonathan Meads late on at Bury. Great free kick that the keeper tipped over the crossbar. But we have been a little bit poor. I'm not too sure where corners come in on that. I must admit, whether that classes, I don't know if that obviously it doesn't class as a free kick, but even from corners, we've not been too good this year.
No, I think it's just the 1 goal from a corner, isn't it, this year? Which again was Gillingham, who have probably got more mentions in this podcast than Alexa Bliss or Luton Town do on a normal week. Need to address that balance kind of quickly, I think. So this all comes down, though. This all comes back, the headers and the lack of headers, certainly. Well, in fact, even the free kicks and corners, it all comes back to these 2 things we've been talking about, target man and creativity. Was it a target man that decided they would rather walk out of a medical with us and go and sign elsewhere? Was it a player you would consider to be a target man that would have helped us out?
Well, we're all putting 2 and 2 together and probably making 4. I think we understand the player was the Crystal Palace forward that decided to go to Southend later on. It was interesting because Nuardi said that he didn't look like his... He said that when he arrived, he didn't look like he was signing. It didn't look promising, what he said. And he said he walked out after 10 minutes and he may have got a better offer somewhere. However, if you then watch the social media team for Wimbledon on one of the recent Facebooks, I think it was Rotherham, Chris Slavin did actually say that the player walked out 10 minutes in because he got a better deal on the phone. So there was a bit more, whether they were supposed to say that, I'm not too sure, but I've repeated it. But yeah, they say he definitely did get a better offer. It happens. Frustrating it gets to the last day. The funny thing is, the player is, is it Lafadou?
Yeah. Ladapo.
Ladapo, it's close, whatever. There's a piece somewhere there. If I'm being honest with you, I
wouldn't say I'm actually that disappointed that we didn't get him. I'm disappointed we didn't get a player in the window, but I wouldn't. If we had got him, I wouldn't be going, wow, that's our answer. I don't really. I'm not really disappointed, if I'm being honest with you.
Well, Carlton Cole can still sign for us, can't he?
Well, we can still sign free transfers, can't we? So,
Yeah.
Carlton Cole, when he gets away from his Zimmer frame, will be available to. At this rate, I'll bring Tyrone Barnett back. Where's he playing nowadays?
Port Vale.
Port Vale. Is he starting? Should we put a vocal in? Yeah, that's where we are.
Oh, that's the saddest thing anyone's ever said on this podcast. And there's been a lot of things, to be honest with you, that we said.
But by all means,
Tragic.
yeah, we're jesting a little bit. But Joe Pigott arriving from Maidstone has been like a breath of fresh air. I wish he get his haircut sorted out a little bit. It does look a bit scruffy.
He does look like he belongs in the in-betweeners. He really does.
He looks a bit scruffy, doesn't he? But he has definitely made an impact, and got a great touch, good header, good ability. I think we've done very well there. To be honest with you, just to prize him away from Maidstone. It's not his fault. He's the only addition to the squad over the window. That's not his fault at all. He does look like a really good addition. So if we can sort out our forward line in the next transfer window, we will probably find its window wasn't the worst window in history.
That's an Alan Partridge show waiting to happen, isn't it? Worst windows in history with Sue Cook. Right, the last thing I want to round off then, it's not all bad there. We've ended on positive there with Joe Pigott signing. I do want to mention, I've got a bit of, not grief, but a few comments my way because I was a bit negative during January. People were like, we had a great January. Neil Lardley's in the running for Manager of the Month for January, 10 points from 12. It was all very, very good. Everyone was happy. But my point was during that, which I think now has been justified still, is that we are still, and all the stats you've listed off there and reeled off there back up my point, we're a bit rubbish. This is all I'm saying. All I'm saying is we are a bit rubbish, and we are actually, to stay in this division, is still overperforming. So I really just want to I know we've spent an hour this week talking about the team, and it comes, I guess, from a negative position or a negative outlook because we're unhappy, but that's the nature of things. People tend to talk about things and get involved with things when they're unhappy about them. When things are going well, people just sort of quite happily sit back and relax and chill for a bit. But I'm just a bit sick, like I've been saying. 1 week it's win, and it's told you so, we're great, we're fine, this squad are really good, we're going to be motoring, blah, blah, blah. Then we lose a game, and it's like, we're the worst team ever, Neil Lardley's got to get sacked, he doesn't know what he's doing, he's not taking us forward, all these sort of things. It's so black and white, it's so frustrating. There are many, many shades of grey in these sorts of things. And like we spent a whole show talking about for 2 weeks in a row, even though you only heard it once, managerial sackings. I know it can work both ways, but I just don't see, I personally know I don't see why you would sack Neil Lardley whatsoever. Yes, will I be disappointed if we go down? Yes, of course we will. League Two fills me with dread when I watch the goals back on a Sunday morning from League Two and I look at some of the stadiums, when I follow Luton, how Luton are getting on, I'm thinking I really don't want to go back down there with some of those teams. But it's not the end of the world. Of course it's a step back, of course it is. But I just wish people, like I say, I just wish we'd get off this wanting to be proved right one way or another, whether you're right to back Neil Ardley or whether you're right to want him out. It's not a case of that. I think it's recognising that we still have a young manager. What is this? What's his 6th full season in charge?
Yeah.
I mean, it's nothing. It's baby steps, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. Though, it is people going, "What camp do you sit in?" And we have got away from that. Obviously we're very sort of like visible at Wimbledon home games because we do the Facebook Live stuff. So we do get a lot of people going, "What camp do you sit in?" Even though we tell them what camp we sit in. I've been happy all season to say that I sit in a Neil Ardley in camp because I still believe in him as a manager. But it does feel that the moment we get a defeat, the people that don't want him in a job, who've been quiet probably through about a couple of months now. I think if we go back to maybe December, it got quashed because our form started getting a little bit better. We played a 4-3-3, but 16 games to go. That's all we've got. Changing the manager now would be suicidal, in my opinion. And I don't think it warrants it. Yes, we've lost one game of football. Two back-to-back. Rotherham, I think, was a good performance. But, let me see the season out. And if we are in Division 2 next year, then we cross that bridge and we go with Eric and decision of whether we give him that chance to get back in to League One. But All I know is it's going to be a fun 16 games, Nick, and it's going to go very, very quickly. So let's just hope we start picking up points from Saturday.
It's not really been a fun 30 games so far, but I'll take your word
It's
for
been
it.
a boring. It's been a boring. Yeah, and to answer your question, it's been a boring season.
But it's because we're not very good. That is bottom line what it is.
We're not very attacking. We're very much a boring League One team.
Yeah.
And it begs the question, I suppose someone might touch you and go, Nick, would you rather have a team that, say, in the style of the Tottenham or the Newcastle, you score 4, we score 5, or would you rather have a team defensively organised and nick the odd goal here and there, which is what we are? I suppose it depends what you want.
Hey, look, you know my record and my opinion on Football Manager. A 0-0 draw is better than a 5-4 win every single time. Every single time.
Yeah, football is an entertainment business. We have to remember that. But we also have to be realistic. We've just got the final hurdle over the line. We've jumped over that final hurdle, and we can now start knocking the hell out of the ground stadium and start returning home. So, do we really want to go back to League Two? You're right. I look at League Two highlights on a Friday on the Football on 5, and yeah, I'm not in a rush to go back to Accrington.
Nobody is. Right, so I had to run through the final parts of the show this week. We've spoken for so long. I want to quickly run through some Don's 3-word reports from Tuesday night, because we had some crackers. We had some really, really good ones. I'm looking at my list here. There's so many, so I apologise if I don't read yours out. But if you've used the hashtag Don's 3-word report that I see that Eddie Oliveria has here, who simply said we were shite. I mean, that's to the point, Eddie, but thank you very much for using the hashtag. Ray Armfield's used it as well. Shaken, not stirred. Absolutely. Anik T at Anik T. We go again. I'm not going to add to that one. That speaks for itself. Dead and Buried, we had a few times. Thank you for those. And finally, my favourite was, two to finish off on. Oliver Harvey at Oliver Harvey 90 went for peak Neil Ardley. So I'm just repeating what he said. I'm not making any further comment. Peter Hill at Pete Urban, bring back January. Absolutely, we're still in January, aren't we? The Facebook page the other day said we've got a really busy January coming up, so maybe things are going to pick up soon. I don't know. All right, George Long Road to Wembley very quickly. This will be the last time we do this because you're sick of it now, aren't you? So,
I'm not very good at it either.
Well, no. So let's get back to a game next week that you're good at.
Good. What was that?
You'll find out next week. It's not going to be Buckaroo, I'll tell you that much. Because we want to run through these and we're running out of time very, very quickly. This is going to be very nice and simple. West Brom, first up. Name the West Brom stadium.
The Hawthorns.
Well done. Right, this is brilliant for so many reasons. What is Mansfield Stadium?
Oh, you told me that the other day, didn't you? Not.
I knew you were going to say that. That's why I laughed when I thought of it.
Oh. Isn't it called like the One Cell Stadium?
Turf
Did they
Mill.
get sponsored?
Oh, it's just Turf Mill. It's not I'm not having any sponsors' names. They
But it was called that. It was called that originally, though, wasn't it?
No, not originally.
Well,
Turf
not originally,
Mill.
but it was. No, but it was once called the One Cell Stadium.
Well, I think it was the One Call Stadium, but that was Doncaster, wasn't it?
Oh,
I don't know. What is Mansfield's ground name?
I don't know.
Oh, wow.
I can't remember.
I thought this would be an easy road to Wembley for you, but you've fallen at the fourth hurdle again. That sums up this game as a roaring success that it's been.
Do you know what the biggest problem about this game is?
You suck.
It starts at Mansfield.
It doesn't even start at Mansfield. It starts at West Brom.
Oh, well, yeah, West Brom's easy. I can answer West Brom questions. Mansfield is probably the most... Mansfield is... Anyone who's not been to Mansfield, it's worse than Newport.
No, it's not. No. Nowhere is worse than Newport. Nowhere.
Mansfield is probably
Watford
the worst place on earth. Well, yeah, Watford Junction.
Watford.
Mansfield... Although, I must admit, I'm digressing because of how poor I'm at this game. But Saturday was also an interesting game with Mansfield playing Newport County, which was Steve Evans versus Graham Wesley. Fourth official must have had a field day.
Not a field mill, no?
No, not a field mill.
No, all right.
Oh, that's what it's called, isn't it?
Oh, jeez.
No.
Right.
Anyway, I'm looking forward to the game next week.
Yes, so am I. I've figured out what that noise is, by the way. You've got to have a washing machine or a tumble dryer on or something.
Oh yeah, wash machine's on. Yeah.
Oh my word! I
forgot about that.
For a whole hour, I've been going. I don't think there's anything. No, I can't hear anything. I don't know what it could be. Maybe it's Lorraine's music.
No, thing is, we've not had a washing machine now for about 3 months. That one when the drum went.
Yeah, I know. I've sat next to it at football.
Okay, I'm dying. I was too busy laughing about the washing machine. But yeah, we've not had a washing machine in about 3 months. and we got it delivered finally yesterday, and then fitted. And yeah, it's amazing. This is really sad. I now look at the washing machine in disbelief, thinking, "Wow, we have one." Third world problems, huh? Yes, we've had a washing machine all night.
You say third world problems?
Well, yeah. Love
Do you mean first world problems?
Oh yeah, same thing.
Not on any level. But it's the difference between London, where I live, and like Newport
or Mansfield.
Or Mansfield, or certainly Watford. Right, Northampton preview we've got to do in like a minute. Okay,
yes.
Now, fortunately, getting things done in a minute, I'm very experienced in this area. So, Northampton, 10 points from 15 in January before they lost to Rochdale, who I did say earlier we're going to talk about later. We don't really have the time now, but Rochdale have had a great week, haven't they? They won at Northampton last week. Then they picked up an FA Cup 5th round win. I still think they're in big trouble because of the amount of games they've got to squeeze into the last few games. But anyway, that's Rochdale. Northampton, who will be playing. Lots of talented players in their squad, haven't they? I've got a list here of names. Matt Crooks, Jojo Chill, Kevin Van Veen, Chris Long. But away from home, they're a bit rubbish with only 3 away wins. Stu, I'm just going to ask you 2 questions. Who are their main threats and what is your prediction?
Yeah, very quickly. I did go through. They had 9 new signings this window already. Believe it or not, from the win that we had in Northampton, there's only 2 players that remain from that starting lineup. That tells you the total of the Northampton team. Well, their threats, they got Van Veen from Scunthorpe, who I really like. I think he's a decent forward. They signed him. They got Joe Bunny, they got from Rochdale. We'll talk about Rochdale, but they got Joe Bunny, who left back. They had Rochdale were really gutted to lose him. Yeah, their danger man is O'Toole. 4 goals this season, normally gets into double figures. And finally, just with their loan signings, I don't know where Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank's been using his connections, but they signed a winger called Piera on loan from Legia Warsaw, who made 25 appearances for Nottingham Forest a couple of years ago. They loved him there. Apparently Wolves and Sheffield United were interested during the summer, so he went to Legia Warsaw. However, he's on loan for the rest of the season at Northampton. So, yeah, I think Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank has used a lot of his contacts, and I think they're going to be a different beast. But my gut feeling is because 9 signings don't always gel very quickly, we may be getting them at the right time.
Prediction then?
I'm going to go for a 2-0 win.
2-0, the most comfortable of scorelines when you're winning, isn't it, really? 2-0. Yeah. No one ever argues with a 2-0. No one pays much attention to that. 2-0, yeah, fair enough, move on to the next one. Always. There's never any controversy or anything with a 2-0 win. I'll take that. I will go for a 3-3 draw.
A 3-3 draw?
Mm-hmm.
Unless we're 3-1 down and we get 2 late equalisers.
Yeah, or even 3-0 down and get 3 late. You can't get 2 late equalisers, can you? You can only still get 1 equaliser. Let's get 2 late goals.
If you think about Charlton on the weekend, they were 2-1 up. And Oxford got 2 late, a late equaliser and a late winner.
Yeah, so they didn't get 2 late equalisers. It's impossible. True. Well, it's not impossible. I suppose you could get to 1-1 and then go, like Tottenham perhaps. They could have been 1-0 down, got a late equaliser, then go 2-1 down and then get a second late equaliser, I suppose.
But yeah, I had tears in my eyes when I was watching that Charlton game. Tears of delight.
Okay, great. Right, updates from Kingsmeadow on Saturday will be available at Twitter at 9YRS Podcast, and Facebook Live will be on facebook.com/9YRS Podcast as well. Thank you very much to Marco Cura for doing a great job doing the Facebook Lives over the past 3 away games. Thank you very much, Marco. They were great viewing, and hopefully we'll be back seeing you soon again on there. Thank you very much to George Jones for doing Twitter updates live from all 3 stadiums as well. So thank you very much, guys, for all your assistance with those in our absence. But we will be back at Kingsmeadow on Saturday, and we'll also be back here next week on the podcast, where we will be joined by Deli Ali to discuss how to keep your balance during these icy conditions we are currently experiencing. Alexa Bliss, bag first, milk last, and we will speak to you again next week. Hopefully Stu is more wrestling. There was no wrestling chat this week. It was very disappointing.
No, it's quite encouraging.
Well, it's WrestleMania season. Soon we'll be getting into the build-up to WrestleMania, where I'll be doing all my wrestling theme songs at the start. So looking forward to that.
Can't wait.